Good afternoon. My name is Tammy Weber. I'm a certified elder law attorney at Marshall, Parker, and Weber, and we're here today with Cheryl Mozdian to talk about dealing with dementia, early planning, and music therapy. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
So we thought we would start with just a little hypo about clients that we both see. So we're going to talk with Mildred. So Mildred is 85 years old and she's a widow and she loved teaching music and she's retired from teaching music and her husband Stuart died a few years back and she's doing well on her own. She lives in a nice one-level rancher. She planned ahead so if the joints or the knees go out, she doesn't have to do the stairs. And she decided she wanted to come in and meet with us. So she filled out our confidential client questionnaire, and a couple of things took her eye. One is, I want to get my estate planning documents in place, she said. And under the health section, the only thing she listed was that she was showing some signs of forgetfulness. So she came in for an estate planning appointment, and we encourage all of our clients to bring their kids along if they like them or have a little family meeting. So she brings her children, Susan and Howie, along with her to the appointment. So we're sitting there and they come in and we have introductions and we ask Susan and Howie to sit in another room because we want to have a good sense of what Mildred wants to do. And we want to make sure that she's not feeling influenced by her children. So we start with speaking with her alone. And amazingly, I never know when I see these questionnaires whether forgetfulness, meaning we're, halfway through in dementia or where we are, but Mildred is able to tell me where her money is, if she has life insurance, that she has retirement accounts, etc. So I'm not concerned about her knowing the extent of her estate. And she is exceedingly proud of both of her kids. Howie is a nurse. Susan's an accountant. She just went on and on. They're very busy. They are close, but they're just so busy. Tagline, I don't get to see them much, right? And she just really, as she ages, one of her concerns is, I just don't want to put my kids out. I want them to live their life. I've lived my life, and I want them to be able to do so. But I'm really getting upset, she tells me, about this forgetfulness. And I just, I'm done. I just want to retreat, stay in my house. I don't do anything. So I tell her, Mildred, it's a great idea that you came in. It's very important to get your estate planning documents in place when you have capacity. And it allows your family to act if there is a crisis. It's not going to cause additional stress if something happens to her mental capacity and there's nothing in place. And I tell her, because I'm a little concerned about it, I don't want to inconvenience my children, that there are professional fiduciaries, banks, independent companies that serve as powers of attorney for others. So we go over, in terms of essential estate documents to have in place, we first talk about a power of attorney. So this is the document that applies during your lifetime and allows you to choose somebody to act for you if you can't, or if you really don't want to be bothered. The law changed on January 1st of 2015, and it's to protect clients such as Mildred and make sure that financial institutions are covering all their bases. So we have to be very specific when we write Mildred's power of attorney document for finances. One of the things we're concerned about is what has been dubbed hot powers. So that's whomever Mildred chooses to be able to do things, she can define the amount of power. So for example, one of those hot powers is unlimited gifting. So if Mildred in the future wants her agents to be able to transfer money or property from her name to somebody else's name, that has to be outlined specifically in the financial power of attorney document. And in addition, we might want to say, I want this to be consistent with my estate plan. In other words, if Susan and Howie are acting as the financial power of attorney agents, they're not going to give the money to Cheryl. Now, you look very lovely, Cheryl, and they might like you, but that's not consistent with Mildred's estate planning intent. When she passes on, she wants to benefit her children. The other thing we want to do in terms of hot powers, Mildred had mentioned she has retirement accounts. If she wants her agents to be able to change the beneficiary designations, that's a considerable power. And so we talked through that. Additionally, when we're looking at people that are getting a little bit older and may in the future need some caregiving, we want to make sure that the agent is able to enter into caregiver agreements. Now, we have done prior webinars with respect to caregiver agreements, so I'll just let the audience go and search those if they like, if they want more detail. The second document that we talk about in terms of a power of attorney is for health care. And a health care power of attorney covers HIPAA, those privacy rules that are to protect all of us, and Mildred can determine who has access to her private health care information. Mildred can also in that document put forth what her philosophy is if a physician has said that she has an end-stage medical condition or if she's permanently unconscious. Some people refer to this as a living will or an advance directive, but essentially she says, if it is at the end of my life, I don't want to be hooked up to machines to prolong the process of my dying. So that's a big important thing. So next thing we talk to Mildred about is, well, when you're gone, you've told us about your kids. What does your will say? And she's very, very clear. I want to benefit, again, my two children, Susan and Howie. But here's the thing. I loved the school where I taught music. And there's not a lot of funding available for music these days. She tells me they give all the money to football. And of course, this is the time where we try not to make any editorial comments. However, she's concerned and she decides, I want to give $25,000 to the school program for music. And they can use it whatever way they want to. And that's important, but what I want Mildred to understand, when you put a specific bequest in your will, that gets paid first. So if Mildred has a long, long life and spends all of her money and has a really good time, and she passes on with only $25,000 in her name alone, the music program is going to get the money, and her two children are not going to get any. So that was a consideration for her as well. And then we look at her beneficiary designations. When people pass on, things pass according to contract. So, for example, if she had life insurance, she's named who is going to receive the proceeds of that policy when she passes away. Same for annuities. So if her will says, I give all my life insurance to Cheryl, and her life insurance lists Susan and Howie as the beneficiaries, Howie and Susan are going to get the money. So we want to make sure that Mildred knows that either we should coordinate with the will and have it be all consistent, or if for some reason oftentimes people want to do something otherwise. We want to make notes. So if there is a possibility down the line, especially since Howie's a nurse, of him serving as a caregiver in the future, we are highlighting for Mildred at the time of that consultation what a caregiver agreement is. That's really putting in writing an understanding between Mildred and Howie or a third party if she needs care as her health changes over a period of years. And so just in terms of the highlights, we want to put the kind of services. So if Howie's acting, we want to know, is he going to take her to the doctor? How much is he going to be reimbursed? Is he going to help with the medicine? Does he actually dress her, help her with toileting, etc.? Those kinds of services, it's very important to put them in writing. And keep good records. Record keeping is essential, and it's found that it's a good thing to look back on, because if you have an outside party or even a child there and they know what mom has done the whole day, it's a good thing to look back on when the next person comes in. And then there are some impacts upon the caregiver that would need to be addressed. For example, if Mildred is paying Howie to care for her, then that's income taxable to him if he's receiving compensation. And there's a benefit to that, because he will be then reporting additional Social Security credits that will help him when he retires. Additionally, I would explain to Mildred that we need to talk about, what if Howie is helping bathe you and he hurts his back, or you fall on him and he is injured? So we want to make sure workers' compensation is available at all. And by this time, Mildred has heard enough. She doesn't need a caregiver. She's fine with getting those things in place, but she's more interested in her music. And she read an article before she came in to see us about music therapy. And she says to me, Cheryl, if my forgetfulness turns into dementia, or if I really have the early parts of dementia, is this music therapy thing you do going to help? So take it away, Cheryl.
Sure. So good afternoon, everybody. Let's talk a little bit about music therapy. I'm Cheryl Mozdian from Summit Music Therapy. I provide music therapy services on a mobile basis around northeastern Pennsylvania. So what is music therapy? You see our definition there on the screen. It's an allied health profession that uses the elements of music to help relieve symptoms in a variety of different diagnoses. You might have heard it used with children with autism, maybe children with multiple disabilities, adults and children with mental illness. But I use it for our older adults, and I specialize in people living with dementia. So you can see a whole list of the different symptoms that music therapy can help with: anxiety, wellness, pain, communication, and the other. And sensory stimulation is another one that helps a lot with people with dementia. And music therapy works on all the domains a person would be concerned about: the physical, the psychological, the cognitive, and the social functioning of a person.
So Cheryl, if Mildred came in to see you, I set up a little appointment, and she said to you, I'm anxious, what can we do? And you tell me about yourself. Like, how did you become a music therapist?
Oh, sure. I was working as a teacher, just like Mildred, and realized that there were students coming in and out of my classroom that I didn't feel equipped to help in a meaningful way through the music. Students with Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and autism. And although I found a place for them in the classroom, I knew there was more I could do to help them through music. So I decided to go back to school and get a degree in music therapy. So it's a 4-year bachelor's degree, including an internship, which is a total of 1,200 hours of clinical time from the time you start your program until you graduate. And then beyond that, after you finish all that clinical time and coursework, you sit for a board examination, and you become a board certified music therapist if you pass that exam. We have a professional organization called the American Music Therapy Association, which works on advocacy and supporting the professionals to stay in top-notch shape throughout their career. And I learned while I was a student all the different places that we could work. They're all right there, and I chose to work with older adults in nursing homes and long-term care, and I have several private clients of varying ages that I go around and see in their homes. And I also work in hospice. That's the other one too.
Oh, great. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how it helps people with dementia.
The number one researched area for music therapy is that it relieves anxiety. And so when you can relieve anxiety for somebody, it opens up a whole world for them to be able to tap into other areas of their life that they want to improve. So when I'm working with somebody with dementia, often dementia causes withdrawal. And because of anxiety and fear of being unable to communicate or find the wrong word or just say the wrong thing, a person may withdraw. So using music, I can gently play their favorite song, or play a song that will bring them out and encourage them singing. So once somebody starts singing with me and increases the oxygen to their brain, it gets things working again. You can see that memory recall will come back if I play a song that's significant to a different time period of their life. The increased oxygen and reduction in anxiety can increase communication. I've had people actually be able to complete full conversations with their loved ones after a music therapy session. Their sentences get longer and they're more meaningful. It brings their awareness back to the environment as they are being drawn out of the withdrawal or whatever is happening to them in the moment. They begin to realize there's others around them making music with them. Their loved ones there, seeing the person that they remember before they got sick. And it creates a high quality of life and a meaningful experience for all of the ones that are involved in making music together. I think the difference between listening and making music is probably forefront in people's mind. When you're listening to a song on the radio, you're going to hear it at that one speed and in that key, and it may not fit the person's voice who's listening to it, so they may not sing along. So when a music therapist comes in, we encourage singing along by slowing down the favorite song to a speed that the client can accept, and in a key that is comfortable for the client to sing in, so that we encourage active participation throughout the entire session. Let's go on to the next one. So I was just talking about this and how it's client-centered. If your favorite music is from the 1950s and what I call the Rat Pack, Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, that's the type of music I'm going to focus on. But if your favorite music is 1940s country western, we're going to focus on that and use what is meaningful to the person in front of me as a way of including them in the session. If it's a group, we'll do a little bit of everybody's music at the same time. If it's an individual, we can constantly focus on their music. And as it says here on this slide, we adjust the speed. The tempo is the speed. We adjust the key. The genre is the type of music I'm going to play, and the intensity to match the needs of the client. Some of us need it louder. Some of us need it softer, depending on where we are in our disease process. So a music therapist is going to match that. So now let me tell you about this client. This man is John. He was somebody I was able to see for about 6 months while he was on hospice care. His role developed and evolved over the 6 months into something we never could have imagined would have happened. But let me share with you a little bit. His daughter chose music therapy for him because he was a teacher, and she knew I had an affiliation with the university. So I was going to be bringing university students with me to our sessions. So she hoped that our sessions would bring out the teacher in her dad and help give him a sense of usefulness and self-efficacy that he hadn't been feeling lately. So we did that. We brought the students and we all came together and started playing music with him. What we discovered was that as a teenager, he used to sit around with his friends around the campfire and play music together, singing and improvising on percussion instruments in the evenings. His daughter didn't know about this at all because soon after that he had lost his hearing and the use of a hearing aid plus the radio was undesirable for him, so they never had music on in the house as the children were growing up. So, but our music therapy sessions led his daughter into a whole world about her dad that she had never heard of before. And we sang together and played together every week for about 6 months, and then they had a family get-together around the holidays where they structured it like one of the music therapy sessions. And John, the father, sat and read poetry and recited poetry and sang songs with his whole family.
Oh,
And
that's wonderful. That is wonderful.
A beautiful moment. I have a lot of these moments with our clients, and I know that we recreate them, but he was a definitely wonderful, unique situation. And let me give you a little example of how we drew John out and helped him find his voice and helped him gain his confidence to start with us. We used a familiar song. And in prompting him to sing, I do this. You are my sunshine. Yeah, and then we can, my only sunshine. And we continue to sing the song together. And I would do that with several different songs. Let's try one more so you get the idea. It's very hard to sit still and not give the word when I stop, right? And it is for all of us, typical people and people with an illness. All right, now try this one. Take me out to the ball. Yeah, we got it. That was great. And so that is one technique I use to help people gain confidence and encourage them to sing along with me. And we would build from there on whatever feedback I got from the client. So a very, very special session with this man, and I've had hundreds, I'm confident to say hundreds of sessions like that since then.
You know, it's interesting. Everybody in our firm does community outreach, and attorney Nicholas Lutz in our Wilkes-Barre Scranton offices and Janine Fawbush go to one of the local facilities there, usually once a month, and what they've started in response to what the residents like is they come with a playlist. So they might be doing big band, and they put it on their phone, and he is just astounded at the results and the smiles and the joy that come from all of the residents as they listen.
When folks are dealing with an illness, we get so focused on feeling good and getting better that sometimes what I could call niceties get left behind. And music is one of those things. And I love to remind folks, you loved music before, love it now. Keep it a part of your life. And because it can clear up a lot of the symptoms that are causing pain and causing distress. And so it just brings a little bit of beauty back into your life. Plus, it makes satisfaction with care better. It increases your communication with family members and brings that bond back that was struggling as you were going through your illness. So how do you get started with music therapy, and what does it look like? So I have this slide here about what it looks like. If you have a loved one or you're caring for somebody in long-term care, there's a lot of music therapy going on in long-term care. There's also possibilities for home sessions too. There's music therapy in hospice care. There's music therapy by private pay and home. So keep it in mind as something that would just add some joy to your life or your loved one's life, and also increase your satisfaction with care and clear up some of the symptoms that your loved one is dealing with on a daily basis. Each session looks a little bit different, like I said before, but it all includes what's on here: live music. I use guitar, but other music therapists will use piano, drum circles, bell choirs, and they're all tailored to meet the needs of the person in front of them. So it's not like a music lesson where I'm teaching somebody how to play an instrument. It's taking the skills that the person currently has and developing them into a meaningful musical experience. You're going to have musical interaction among the participants, which is great as somebody comes out of any confusion or withdrawal they're having from their dementia illness. They begin to notice how much fun the people around them are having. Even the folks who are considered very far along in the disease can open their eyes and notice how much fun folks are having around them, and it becomes a beautiful social interaction with them. And then reminiscence, movement, and memory workout through music. The memory workout through copying drum rhythms. I sometimes use dance moves like the waltz or the cha-cha or the swing dance, and we'll play it on the drum instead of standing up to dance. We'll play it on the drum. And that type of memory workout is also, it's reminiscing, and it's giving them a fun cognitive workout to keep everything going in their brains that is still working. So, how to find a music therapist. There are some great places to look right there on that slide. So look for cbmt.org. That is the certification board of music therapists, and they will tell you if a person is board certified, and that, I believe, is the most reliable way to find a music therapist. And then on the other side of the slide, you're looking for a music therapist to provide therapy for your loved one, as far as the cognitive and physical workout to maintain abilities, decrease isolation, and active participation in musical interactions. I encourage you to get that old radio out, CD player or iPod, and use it as much as you can. And then when you're unable to do it anymore, it's time to call the MTBC to help facilitate it for you. And always ask, if you're going to choose a long-term care facility, ask if they provide music therapy, because then you at least know if that service is available before you get there.
You know, and a lot of people, you know, what I thought about is my great aunt at the end of her life, she had a Victrola. Oh, wow. Have you ever used one of those? No, with the old records and putting down, you know, and cranking it up? And when we would go to visit her, that would be the end of the meal kind of entertainment. But the fascinating thing I found for that, as I'm sure you do in your music therapy, is it involves no matter the age. So kids and grandchildren were there, and the younger kids would fight over who gets to crank up the Victrola and get it going. But it's a great way to share, and as you said, reminisce with family things.
Yeah, some of my fondest memories of my work are when the families are involved, from the great-grandchildren up to great-grandma and everybody in between. There are some beautiful sessions because everybody can relate to it, and they especially love the energy of the children, but everybody participates. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. I enjoyed speaking with you today.
I wonder if anybody has any questions. This is the time to type them for us. For Cheryl, this is quite an opportunity if none are coming in. I just want to remind everybody that all of our webinars are on our website, www.paelderlaw.com. You can just click on seminars and webinars, and on the next page to the right will be a box where you can say click on view prior webinars. What is coming up Wednesday, November 16th at 1 o'clock is what is a CELA, or Certified Elder Law Attorney. I don't want to be a spoiler, but that's what it is. Certified Elder Law Attorney Elizabeth White and Case Manager Patty Jo Turner will be walking you through that. And then, back by popular demand, on Wednesday, December 14th is Medicaid Myths by Attorney Nicholas Lutz and Case Manager Heather Kohler, also at 1 o'clock. Those are really great opportunities to educate yourself before a crisis and to help your family as well. If you have any comments or want to give us feedback, that you'll be able to do so at the conclusion of this webinar if you are viewing it live. And I thank you all for joining us today.